Hello, this is a video tutorial of how to manage your OTA connections in Easy Innkeeping. OTA is also known as online travel agents. We're going to assume that the connections are already established and that everything's ready to go. So the first thing we want to talk about is some of the problem areas that we run into. So when our level 2 support makes the connections, they double check to make sure all these settings are correct, but occasionally in the day-to-day operations you might change them. So we want to kind of identify some areas that you want to watch for. So the first thing is in the unit setup. The main thing to note is that any of the room types that are actually being sold on the OTAs, you want to make sure that every unit under that type has the same rate name assigned. It's okay to have different rates for different rooms, but you want to assign a separate room type if you're going to have different rates. As you see, all the 8 single room SM have the same rate. All the 9 double room SM have the same rate. Alternatively, also, we want to make sure that the room types themselves have this rate assigned to them. So we go out of unit setup into room type setup. And we see that this does indeed have the same rate assigned. In the rate setup itself, we can look. There's a feature that not everyone knows about that we have added. In the rates themselves, you can do a channel manager markup. So let's say you want to recoup some of the channel managers all have a commission that they charge. So if you wanted to mark your rates up for the OTAs, this would not affect the PMS calendar or the online booking engine, the Easy Web Res booking engine. But if you wanted to mark the rates up by the 15% or whatever they charge, this will only communicate to the OTAs. This will also transfer to any seasonal rates that are under this regular rate. We'll get this as well. So that when you push the rates, then it will get the markup. One thing to note is that rates do not automatically update on the OTAs. Availability does, but the rates, any changes to the rates, you have to go and do a push. So if we go back to our calendar, we have a useful tool called the OTA calendar. When we go to the main view of the calendar, we click this drop down here and put it on OTA calendar. And this shows you what Easy Innkeeping is sending to the OTAs. You'll note that we have I have set a reservation rule for the minimum nights to have 2-night minimum on the weekends and on the weekends only. So that will be shown here. Also, you can sort it by just Expedia room types and show the room types mapped to Expedia. You can show the room types mapped to Booking.com. Or you can show them all. This is a useful tool if you happen to notice on the OTAs that the rates is showing a different rate than what you are expecting to see. You can see here. So this will show you the rate that's being sent for each day. It also will show you the number of units that are available for that day. You can see that. If you ever need to close any rooms, and sometimes that's useful if to avoid overbookings. If you know that you're going to be sold out for a particular weekend, you might consider closing one of the room types in order to have plenty of rooms available just in case. Because if someone, let's say, cancels on the Expedia side, well, Expedia is going to show that room as available, and you get a phone call and book that room manually, it could be up to 3 minutes before Expedia sees that room is no longer available. So if someone comes and books in that interval, then you're going to get an overbooking. So it's good to manage your, pay attention to your calendar. If you look like you're going to get sold out, you might consider going and closing a room type. in order to have a couple of rooms available just in case something like that happens. So let me show you how to close them. So you come here, pick a room, pick a day. It doesn't matter which day or which room you choose. You right click, open, close rooms. And this is why it doesn't matter, because you pick the rooms here. You can go to the booking.com room types and select the one that you want to close out. You do it for Expedia and for Booking.com. It has an Expedia and Booking.com. It's better to do them individually. So you pick the OTA, you pick the room type, you pick your date range. So for example, if it's a Friday and a Saturday, and you would check Friday and Saturday. If it's a week-long date range, you would tell it all days. But once you save that, we now see that room type 9 double room SM is closed on Expedia for the 15th and 16th of June. Then we can go to Booking.com and close the chalet for the same dates. Then we can go to the OTA and verify that it got closed. You do not, once you put in the close order, you don't have to push, you don't have to do anything. It just sends it. So we can actually go to Booking.com and verify that. This is our test property on Booking.com. We go and find the chalet in the list. Well, first we refresh it. Here's the chalet. We wait for Booking.com to refresh. It occasionally will take a moment to get. You may have to refresh a few times to get it to see. Occasionally this will happen. I'm actually kind of glad that it did this. Let me show you. Occasionally you will have to go push if you've made any changes. And remember, I told you I had set a reservation rule to have a 2-night minimum for the weekends. In that event, you will have to push availability. And this would be a good time to talk about that. So we go into our setup, we go to the OTA tab, and we come to our Booking.com settings. In order to get the minimum nights from the reservation rules to push over, you do have to push availability. We mentioned earlier that rates are not automatically updated, so any changes to the rates you have to push as well. When you come to push rates, and you always want to push rates first before availability, you never want to do for a short date range. The settings in the system will allow you to push up to a year at a time. And that's what the developers recommend, is to push for even if you change one rate for one day, you still want to go do, from today to the end of the year at least. You don't want to do a 2-week push or a 1-day push or even a month push. You want to always push for several months at a time to avoid overbookings. So when you hit send rate, you'll get this message, please wait, rates are being sent. One thing to note, this message does not automatically go away. What you have to do is close the window and open it back up until that message does go away. And it could take up to 2 or 3 minutes or so for it to finally finish pushing, and now our message is gone. So now we push availability. And availability has no message. You saw the screen flash. That means availability has gone. And so now we go over to booking.com, do a refresh, and now we see our minimum nights. See the minimum, the little stars for it has restrictions. This property is actually already in closed not bookable status, so it didn't take that close order that we sent over from the OTA calendar. It's already closed. The whole property's closed, so it won't see that close order. If your hotel is in open bookable status, then it will get that close order. But we can go and view again that we have our minimum nights set for all room types. And we see there has restrictions. Okay. So the last thing I wanted to show you before we close for the day is our GDS log. When you're looking at your calendar and you get a booking or a modification or a cancellation, the GDS icon here at the top of the screen will have a little red number next to it. And when you click on the GDS icon, you'll get the GDS log. So you'll see that any cancellations, any modifications, or any new reservations will all be shown here. It'll show the booking.com ID number or Expedia number, and then it will show the Easy InnKeeping reservation number. It'll show you the guest name. It'll show you the dates they've booked for, what room they've booked, the amount that it was booked for, and then the source, whether it was booking.com, Expedia, what day the booking was created, and what status it's in. I would recommend you always keep an eye on the GDS log to see when anything comes in, because if anything should happen to fail, you'll see reservation download failed, and it'll tell you why, most likely because of no availability or something of that nature. If you see that that the reservation failed to download, that means that there is a reservation on the booking.com or Expedia side that needs attention. So either a reservation will have to be manually created in Easy InnKeeping, or somehow the guest will have to be otherwise accommodated. And as always, any questions that you may have, feel free to come on live chat and talk to one of our support representatives or call our main office number during office hours. And that concludes our OTA tutorial. Thank you so much for your time, and have a good day.